Good night, everyone. Done tonight. God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Sermon J. Spirit Divine. I'm here to give you a word on tonight, and we still talking about don't bow down to other idol gods. This is an image of God that this king had built. And if they don't bow down, to him, to his idol god, they were gonna be thrown in the fire. So Daniel chapter 3, 1 through 30. Now the king made an image of gold 60 cubit high and 6 cubit wide, and set it, on the plain of Dora in the property of Babylon. So he made this big old god, his god. In Babylon religion, culture, statue were frequently worshipped as God. Now this king hoped to use this huge image to worship in order to unite the nation and sanctify the power. Now this gold statue may have been inspired by a dream. Now he had a dream, and this was in his dream, and he had got three guys to interpret his dream, and they could not interpret his dream. They had to go get Daniel, and Daniel interpret his dream. So this king commanded, then if you have heard this sound, hearing all kind of music and stuff, he wants you to bow down to his God and worship this image of gold that king has set up. So when the people had heard every kind of music, there was a cue for them to bow down and worship his other God. So made an other God and made a wine people bow down. Now whoever does not fall down and worship immediately will be thrown into the blazer of fire. So therefore, as soon as they heard the sound of the horn, all kinds of music, every language, had fell down and worshiped the image of gold that king had set up. All the people of Babylon had command and worship, this idol under threat of death being burned alive. Now, when the time had came, his men, extortioner, denounced the Jews. Now, these are three guys I was telling you. They're supposed to be smart, intelligent, and everything else, and they could not interpret his dream. But now now they're denouncing the Jews. He see three guys. The only three guys is not buying it down. To it. Now these extraordinary who could not explain or interpret the king's dream. How educated people are. Now they was real educated, but they could not interpret his dream. Now sound again. They already told the king that these three guys is not bowing down to your image. They're not bowing down to outer gods. So he said, if I'm playing this song one more time, when y'all hear this sound, I need y'all to bow down. So sound again and bow down, but they pay no attention to you. They need to serve your God, not worship your image of gold, and you have set up these three Jews and refuse to bow down, but only God. They don't bow down to nobody but God. They had made a promise they will not bow down. So these three, were singled out, as public example. The men refused to bow down. They said God knew they had a heart, but they had determined never to worship another God. As a result, they was condemned and led away to be executed. So we replied to king, we do not need a defense ourselves before you in this matter. So they said they don't need to defend themselves in this matter here. Because they're saying no matter what, we're not buying down to your other God. Three Jews, were ordered to deny God. They're just like saying deny God, but they choose to be faithful to Him, and no matter what happened, they was confident, that God could deliver them. Now they was confident enough to know that God is going to deliver them. And if we are thrown into the fire, He said, if we thrown in the fire, that's just how much confidence they have. If we thrown in a fire, in a blazing forest, the God that we serve, is able to deliver us from it. And He will deliver us from your hand. And that's what these guys is. These guys is brave, and these guys meant they're not gonna bow down to other gods. And that's what we have to do. Don't bow down to other gods. Because God used to tell that to Israel. Other gods can be anything. It can be anything. Your money, it can be anything. You know, and but even if we does not, we want you to know. Now they said we want you to know, that your God that we will not serve, your God or worship the image of gold that you had set up, we ain't buying down. And the fifth, and the three guys faithful as these three men did, and cling to the hope that God will walk with us, through the fire. You know, King was furious. He was mad. He was mad because he played that harper again, and they did not buy down. They did not buy down. You know, and so there were ordered to furnace to heat it up 7 times hot. So he's mad. He's mad. Now he heating it up 7 times hotter. You know, so he command some of the strongest soldier, in his army to tie up the guys, and throw them into that blazing furnace. Now he gonna tie them up and still and throw them in that thing to make sure they don't run around and escape. And the fact that the furnace was super hot, super heated, made this even by yet the king demand his victim, and tied up. So they was bound and thrown in a blaze of furnace, and now this furnace is 7 times hotter, and then the furnace, so it was so hot, if the fire had killed his soldier. Now remember, that was his big strong soldier, so now now there was the king. The king had served his killed his soldier. Now he that looked, they see 4 men. Remember, they tied them up and they put the 3 men in the furnace. But then they look, they see 4. They see 4. And they're walking around like it's in nothing. Like they're walking around like they ain't on fire. They're walking around and they're unbind, and they was tied up. They unbind, they unharmed, and the folk look like the Son of God. Now he asked him that you'll throw 3 men in the fire. Why I see 4 unbind and unharmed, 4 look like a Son of God. So the king approached the opening blaze of, 3 men service of the Most High. God come out. you know. So he see them. But still of them had, they ain't come out. They were still in the furnace, just walking around, walking around. Then walking around. So they saw that the fire had not harmed their body. None was the hair on their head. Their robe was not scarred, and there was no smell of fire. So they see the king had called them out, and now the king looking at him. Okay, I put that on 7 times hotter. I don't see your hair on fire. I don't see no smoke or nothing. So there was that was a miracle. There wasn't nothing but God. You know, and so these young men had been completely untouched. They've been completely untouched. By the fire and the heat. They trust God in every situation, but there are eternal reasons for temptation trials. So these young men had bravery. I'm gonna tell you in this matter, we ain't serving your God. So this king said, if anyone go against these 3 Jews, he will be cut off into pieces. And their houses said, no other God can still win this in this way. So the king just talk about, they had now, you know, they did have now nobody, against God. Now, first he was talking about God. Now all of a sudden, I don't want nobody talking about God. I'm gonna tear you into pieces. So now, you know, just like I said yesterday, the day before, it takes a whole lot of stuff and miracles, for somebody to believe something. So the king just talk about their God. Now he don't want, nobody against God. Now his king promoted a shutdown for the 3 Jews. So now these three men refused to bow down to other gods. God was the only one that said we're gonna bow down to. And so when these men come around and talking about someone up there for to bow down to them, this stood their ground. This stood their ground. We not bowing down to your other gods. You know. And so even if you throw, him, he's still not gonna bow down. So they conference. They conference in faith in God. When they came out of the fire, they did not smell like no fire. They ain't see no burnt smoke with the fire. They had no burns. They was unharmed, with this fire. And he put that fire 7 high, you know, and at the end of the day, they got a promotion. They got a promotion. And remember the other ladies I just put out. They did the right thing and saved all the boss, and they got a reward at the end. And these guys here had so much faith in God. So they now have a promotion. And that, like I said, when you do good things for your God, when you do good things for your God, you don't have to brag about it, what you do. God sees. God sees. Now he got a promotion at the end of his day. A promotion. Now that's all I have for you today. That these guys, refuse to bow down to our other God. Refuse. And they had so much faith and they had so much confidence. They even told Pharaoh, they said, in this matter, we will not be bowing down to your God. We will not be bowing down to your God. And these guys had confidence and faith that God will go save them. In Jesus' mighty name. I see y'all in the next video.